the first thing you need to know before you can do any subnetting is how numbers work. Okay, this is a really big issue for a lot of people. So we're going to cover some real basics about numbers. Okay. Okay, and I don't have a keyboard. Oh, there we go. Okay. Looking at these numbers here, are they all the same?
That depends on what you're looking at.
Okay, no decimal point. No decimal point anywhere. Well, farthest right's a decimal point, and they're all base 10. Are they all the same? No, they're not. That one doesn't have a 0 at the end. Okay, but what about the zeros at the beginning? Does that matter?
Sometimes.
Not really. It really doesn't. Now, sometimes the way we look at numbers, yeah, like if I tell you I want to see an IP address in binary, I probably want to see it in 8 bits, something like that. But really, those numbers are basically the same. Y'all realize that? Okay. No brainer there. Okay. Now, we're going to go back to probably kindergarten and learn how to count. Okay. Base 10, which is decimal. Okay. We start at 0 and go to 9. Everybody with me?
Yes, sir.
Nothing difficult yet. What happens when we get to 9?
Go to 10.
Well, not really just 10, but what happens? The 9 becomes a 0, and then we increment the next position. You see that? So we started at the beginning number at 0, went all the way to the maximum number, which is 9. When we got to the maximum number, that becomes 0, we increment the next number. Okay? So far, so good? So we get to 19, again, we're at the maximum number again, so we have to change it to 0 and increment the next number, so that's where we get 20. So far, so good? Everybody with me? Okay. And it continues on. We get to 99. Well, now they're both at the maximum number, so we increment the next one, which will give us the 100th place, and both the 9s become zeros. You all got that down. I mean, I know you know how to count, but that's really what you're doing. You just don't think you're doing that. People just say, oh, you go from 9 to 10. Well, really, the 9 is really becoming a 0, and you're incrementing the 1. Okay? So that's decimal. Pretty simple. Okay? And you can see it this way. 10 to the 0 is 1. 10 to the 1 is 10. 10 to the 2 is 100, so on and so forth. Okay? Is everybody okay with that?
Sir.
Nothing new there. I mean, again, we've been doing this all along. So 241 is 2 of 10 to the squared. 2 in that position. 4 in the 10 to the 1's position. And 1 in the 10 to the 0 position. You all see that? So that's how we got 241. Again, nothing new there. I'm just showing you how we use decimal. Okay? Now let's talk about binary. Okay? See, decimal is hard. This stuff here is hard because we got to remember 10 numbers. We have 10 things. But what if you only had to remember 2 numbers? Wouldn't that be easier? Think about it. If you're going to juggle 2 balls or 10 balls, which one's easier? Definitely 2. So obviously counting with only 2 numbers is easier. Doesn't that follow the same logic?
Yeah.
Just that you're not used to it. Okay, it's actually easier, but we were brought up like, anyone been to Europe? You ever driven in Europe and used kilometers and all that stuff? How long does it take you to learn that? About 5 seconds. Once you're over there and immersed in it, it's very easy to learn kilometers and metric system. Just here we have this weird thing, it's crazy. Okay, so binary, we start at 0, and then we get to 1, we go to 1. Now that's our maximum number. So we do exactly the same thing we did in decimal. What happens when we get to our maximum number? Change it to a 0, increment the next number. So decimal of 2 is actually 1 0 in binary. So then we increment the 1 right here, okay? Which would be a 3. Then now, since we're at the maximum number in both positions, just like 99 to 100, we increment the next position and change them both to 0. We're doing exactly the same thing, but instead of working with 10 numbers, we're only working with 2. So far, so good? Easy enough. So we can continue on. 3, then 4. Then now we increment the 1. And now, since that's at the maximum position, we change it to a 0, increment the next number. Then we bring this one up to a 1. Oh, we might need paper today. Do you have paper somewhere? No. You might have to write on your hands or borrow her paper. When we get to that point, if you want paper, I bet she can share some. Okay. Okay. But everybody see how binary works? It's not hard. It's just that we're not used to doing it. Okay? Like 8, when you get to 7, it's 3 ones. So then we would increment the next number and go all ones. Okay? All zeros, I'm sorry. And continue on, so forth and so forth. Okay? Here's how we see it there. 2 to the 0's position is 1. 2 to the 1 position is 2. 2 to the 2 position is 4. 2 to the third is 8. And at 2 to the third, you ever know how to do multiplication? 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2. Nothing new there? So 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. So 2 to the third power is 8. That's why I put that there. Okay? And you'll notice these are doubling each time. Same within decimal, they double, these double as well. Okay? Okay. Well, not really double, but you get the point. So 241 in binary, what you do is if you look at this chart up here at the top, so 241 in binary, how many 256 is going to 241? 0. It's too high, too big of a number. So can we fit a 128 in there? Sure. So 241, we need 128. Now how many's left over? Quite a bit. Well, we need a 64. So if you add 128 and 64, you get 192. So we need those two at least. So if you were to subtract 192 from 241, you're going to get, what, 49? Okay. Then you're going to bring in a 32 and a 16, and that brings us up to 240, and then a 1. So that's how we get 241. Kind of understand it? We're going to do that like 400 more times tonight. Okay. See how that works? It's very easy to convert from decimal to binary. Very easy to do. Okay. Now octal. We're not going to do much with octal. I'm just going to explain octal and hex a little bit. We're not going to use it much tonight, but octal is power of 8. Remember, decimal is power of 10, binary is power of 2, octal is power of 8. Okay. To do it, you break it into groups of 3. And then you go from binary to octal. It's quite simple. Okay? But you notice our numbers here are from 0 to 7, and 7 is our maximum number. So what happens when we reach 7? Change it to a 0, increment the next number. Okay? So it becomes that, which is actually 8. And then 9, and so on and so forth. Okay? So it's not hard to do. You just break it into groups of 3, and then you do it. So if you look up here at this example, 167 in octal, since we're breaking into groups of 3, we have a 1. Obviously, that's a 1. That's a 6. If you look, there's a 6 from binary to octal. There's a 6, and there's a 7. So 167. Pretty simple to go between binary and octal. Do you agree with that? As long as you break it in groups of 3. And I'll post these slides if you want, but I'll also post the recording. So, okay. So it's pretty simple to go back and forth between binary and octal. Okay. Now decimal is a little bit tougher. If you want to go octal to decimal, like 756, okay, so 7 is actually 8 to the second power's position, so it's 7 times 8 to the second, 5 times 8 to the first, 6 times 8 to the 0. So 8 squared right here is actually 64, so 7 times 64. 8 to the 1 is actually 8, so 5 times 8. And 8 to the 0 is 1, so 6 times 1. So we end up with 448 plus 40 plus 7. So 756 in octal ends up being 494 in decimal. I know some of you are like, huh? Okay. So how would we do 2701 octal? What would we do with the 2?
That's 2 times 8 to the third power.
Exactly, 2 times 8 to the third power. Then 7 times 8 squared, 0 times 8 to the 1, and so on and so forth. Okay, it's not difficult. Now, we have calculators to do all this stuff for us. I was actually at an advisory committee like a month ago now, where I said part of the issue we have today in society is calculators. Because, Virginia's daughter, Bethany, was what, 5th grade when I told her she could use a calculator? Was that what it was? Something like that. But she came home to do this assignment. And it even said on there, calculators are allowed. I'm like, 5th grade? And the point is they want to teach them how to use calculators. Even this guy at this advisory committee said, Yeah, I used to think like you, but we really need to teach them at a young age how to use a calculator. I'm like, seriously? 5 plus 2. I mean, it's not that hard. Okay? Now, graphing calculators and stuff like that I can understand, but basic math, you don't need a calculator. Problem is, that's all we use is calculators. We don't do it by hand anymore. Okay? But yeah, you can do all this on a calculator, but it's nice to know how to do it. Okay? Hex is what IPv6 uses. Hex is power of 16. Okay? You'll see the numbers from binary to hex start at 0, and they go all at these two columns are too long, so after the 7, go up here with the 8. We get 8 to 9, and then we go with an 8. We were watching CSI Cyber the other day. And they had a MAC address that was like QC or something like Q? Is Q even a letter in hex? No.
IP address that started with 956.
Yeah, they had an IP address that started with 900. I'm like, wow, it's crazy. But yeah, it was bizarre. But in hex, you break it in groups of 4 and do exactly like octal, but now we're working in groups of 4. So here's an example down here of F5C. Now, those of you who are going to take certification tests, you know they give you a piece of paper like Scratch. That's actually like a laminated sheet. Y'all taking some of you taking certification tests, haven't you? Anybody's taking one? Do they still give you the laminated sheets? Okay. So some of the stuff I'm going to tell you in a little bit. What I would do when I go into those tests, I write down everything. My sheet would be full of all the stuff I do. That way, when you're taking the test, you're not sitting there trying to think about it. Okay, and I'm going to show you exactly what you can write down when you can do the subnetting here in a minute. Okay, so hex is not really any different, except instead of working with 2 numbers or 10 numbers or 8 numbers, we're working with 16 numbers. Since there isn't 16, we go all the way up to F. Okay, so everybody see that? And to convert it to decimal, same thing. 3 times 16 squared, 3 times 16 to the first power, 3 times 16 to the 0 power. So from hex to decimal is not really any harder. So 5B48, you just do that. Okay? So not really all that difficult to do. Okay? I don't want to cover this in great gory detail. I just want to give you a general idea of how this works.
The fun part is pairing hex with masking tape.
Yeah. That's which way do you go, top or bottom? That's okay. So get a general idea of how these work. Okay. Now, in my other class, the students have to fill this chart out. I did this way back when I went to school, and back then we didn't have as many scientific calculators. But okay. Actually, while we're here, since it's so important how to use calculators, I'm going to show you how to do it with a calculator. Let's go back a slide. Let's go back one. And so if we were here, and if I changed it to hex, and if I typed 5B48, then clicked decimal 23368. See? Pretty simple to do. Okay. This is in View Scientific, right? No, actually, I think this one's View Programmer. Yeah, View Programmer. If you're on the early versions of Windows, it's View Scientific. So it's pretty simple to use a calculator to do this as well. Okay, and I think, don't our iPhones even do that? I think they do if I turn it sideways, doesn't it? Let's see. Oh, no, it doesn't do octal on that. No, it doesn't. Okay. All right, so that's a general idea of how to convert number bases. Okay. Come on, get out of here. All right. Now we're going on to the one that we're going to spend the majority of our time. Subnetting. Okay, these slides originally came from this book. They're listed at the bottom. I took like 4 other slides that I just used it as templates. There's some of the stuff's in there, but we're going to cover a little bit of stuff they talk about there, and we're going to go through a million examples. So IPv4, it's based on addressing scheme with 32-bit address. Okay, 32-bit. Way back when the internet first came available or came out, 32 bits a lot. We all thought that was plenty. Well, now we know that's not enough. Okay. Uses binary numbers, which we just learned, the zeros and ones, which we're going to go through again. Okay. And here's what they look like. You may have 192.168.115.10, and it would be convert to binary. 10.10.1.15 can convert to binary. Okay. It's very important to know how to convert it to binary because we're going to see where that comes into play here in a minute. Okay. So far, so good. These are just some examples. Okay. All right. Base 2 number system, just like I showed you. You could vary. This is of the decimal number 115. So it's 1 at the 2 to the 7th position. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 0 there. It's 1 at the 2 to the 6th position, which is 64 plus 62 plus 16. So on and so on. And then 2 and 1. So, again, just examples. What subnetting is the process of creating multiple small networks or subnets on the same network address. Okay. First of all, why do we need to subnet? Does anyone know why we need to subnet? Because they tell us to? Because it's on a test?
Yeah, so you can actually have different parts of your network having access to like
Just portions of it. Okay. Way before Major Robinson got there, but I got moved into the networking shop at building 284. It's 284, wasn't it? I got moved into the networking shop on 284 because some captain heard about what I did and said, these guys need training, so he just stuck me in there. And it's funny because across the street from 284 is 224? Okay. Well, 224 had this shop that they were working on for a very long time and couldn't get it to work. They had an issue with the network. It was literally, there was machines that could not communicate on the network. The networking shop was working on it. No one could figure out why it wasn't work. And again, I was kind of forced in there. You ever had those people that you get stuck somewhere, but everybody hates you? That was me. I was stuck in the office because I suppose we knew everything. So you know what everybody else felt. Yeah, this guy's an idiot. We don't want him here. But I was stuck in there. They had no choice, and I had no choice. Well, so if you're so darn smart, you go fix it. So I went over there. Not a problem. I didn't know what the deal was. Some of the computers couldn't communicate. So I go in and look at their network configuration. Well, they all haven't. Back then, we manually assigned IP addresses. I think I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. But they all had the correct IP addresses in there, but their subnet masks were different. Like, why? Why are they different? Oh, the networking shop says they don't matter, so we just put in anything. Like, what? Like, yeah, it doesn't matter what you put in there. Dude, trust me. It really matters what you put in there. Back then, we were using 255.255.240.0. I said, can we just put in the same number in all of them? Ta-da! Started working like a champ. Every computer started communicating. From that point on, they realized subnets were important. Subnet is kind of like a zip code. Okay? If I told you I lived at 8412 Tree Line Drive, could you find my house? You guys probably could because you've heard me say it. But say we were not from Oklahoma. Say we're down in Austin, Texas somewhere. I said, I live in 8412 Tree Line Drive. Where would you go? Go to Google. And the first city is Salt Lake City, Utah. So you probably go to Salt Lake City, Utah. I don't live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I live in Choctaw, Oklahoma. But the point is, just a street address, kind of like an IP address, doesn't mean a bloomin' thing. It's worthless. You need the subnet mask, which is kind of like the zip code. Okay, so when I tell you 8412 Tree Line Drive in Choctaw, Oklahoma, you can find it. But just 8412, that's why when in building 220, they all had random subnets. It's like, this guy's in Austin, this one's in San Antonio, this guy's in Seattle. Even though they had the same IPs, their cities were wrong, basically. Okay, so it's funny, from that point on, whenever it was an issue, I even went on vacation for a month and had a printer issue. They called the networking shop looking for me, and they're like, he's gone for a month. I'm like, well, wait. Seriously? I come back from vacation like a month later, so we've been waiting on you for a month. I'm like, you didn't have someone else? No.
Tim,
We're just,
Tim the IT guru.
it was like, okay, it was crazy. But okay. So subnet mask really helps us determine our network. Okay, this is what it's really for. Can determine the network and the host portions of an IP address. We got an address, but what is what? Okay. All right. Here they have something called classful IP addressing. It will be on a certification test if you're going to get your Network Plus or a couple other ones probably. Classful addressing was a good idea. It's kind of like 640K of RAM. Y'all remember those days? Yeah, that was a great idea for about a minute. I think they probably ran out day one. I don't know. But the point was, this is a good idea. So a Class A network was for very large networks. That was for HP. Believe it or not, HP was, years ago, one of the largest networks in the world. Okay? Because they're everywhere. Not HP. No, HP, yeah, HP. HP and Hertz were two of the largest ones. Okay, so a Class A network started with address 0, went all the way up to address 127. Okay, and the default subnet mask of that was 255.0.0.0. The 255, when converted to ones, would be to binaries. Anybody know what 255 is?
1111110.
Oh, it's all ones. 255 is all ones.
855.
Okay. So when you convert your subnet mask to ones, so we end up with, we're looking at Class A now, we end up with 1111, 1111, then a whole bunch of zeros. So the first octet is called is 255, so that's all ones, and the rest are all zeros. The ones represent the network ID, the zeros represent the host ID. So what are the valid networks on a Class A network? 1 through 127. You see that? Because that's the only one that's on the 255. The host can vary. I mean, those other 3 octets, there's a lot. There's like 16 million addresses that can go in there. So it's 16,777,000.
250.
Okay. So Class A networks, very small amount of networks, but lots of hosts per network. Okay. Class B networks, that's the military. Okay. There'll still be to this day, at least if I remember right. I don't know, unless they change. But so the first 2 octets are all 255. So the first 2 are now the network ID. The last 2 are the host ID. So now we have 64,000 networks. Well, trust me, it's 64,000. And 65,000 hosts, or 65,000 hosts. The reason is not all the numbers can be used is why it says that. So, yeah, there's some of the numbers that can't be used, but we'll talk about that later. Okay. Class C, you'll see the first 3 octets are the network ID, and the last one is the host. Again, some of the numbers can't be used, is why it's a lot less. Okay. Now, so with a Class C, the 4th octet is 0. You see that? So that's the number of hosts. All right. So let's continue on. Okay. All right. So there are some special use addresses, which we're going to see here in a second. There's also some private addresses, which we're going to see here in a second. Okay. When they come up with this plan, they said, you know, we need some internal only addresses. We need some special ones for this, and you'll see what they are. Okay. Okay. 0 addresses really can't be used. Okay. Okay. 10s. You ever how many of you work addresses a 10 network? Anybody?
Ours used to be at Tinker.
What is it now?
It's the one that we used the 192.
Oh, 192. Okay. Yeah, Tinker was 10 years ago when I was there, I think. Wasn't it?
Changed it about a year after I got there.
Okay. But yeah, so 10s, like Rose State's using 10s. What that means is it's a private address. Okay. This computer here, let's see what my address is. 10.60.200.96. So if I move this down, so obviously our address at this computer is in the private range. Y'all agree with that? So if it's private, how can I get on the internet?
The router.
Okay, both. I connect to my gateway, which is the router, and it uses something called NAT, Network Address Translation. What happens is, when I go to Google, every packet that hits the router goes into the net table, says, hey, Ken Dewey wants whatever is on the internet. Okay, so everything that goes out, it translates. This specific packet came from this specific internal address. So it changes the source on it to itself, sends it to Google or wherever I'm going to. That way when Google replies, it replies back to our router. Then the router looked at it, aha, that request came from this specific address internally, and then forwards it to me. It's called Network Address Translation. Okay, it's kind of like working through a telephone operator. You know, you have to call the operator and they transfer you. Okay, same kind of thing. So 10s is a private IP address. All of your homes are probably private as well, probably 192. Sound right? Okay. Okay. 127 is Loopback. What this does for us, let me show you what Loopback does. Say I want to ping BS-104-001. That's my office machine. What I'm doing is I'm sending a request to my office, and it's coming back and saying Ken's computer's online. It's an easy way to test your network if you don't know that. Okay, but you can also ping. What the heck? Where is that? Ping 127.0.0.1. What that is actually what's called the loopback address. It's sending the packet down basically my network stack, not the OSI model, but the TCP model, to the bottom, and then right back up again. It really doesn't leave my computer, but it's an easy way to test your network. So if you can't get on the internet or you got something weird going on, try pinging that first. If that works, then you're probably okay, at least to your network card. Doesn't mean your cable's any good. At least means your network card's probably okay.
And if that doesn't work, you probably have a problem with your net.
It's probably the cabling, most likely. Okay. If that comes back good, just like I showed you, that normally means your configuration is correct. I mean, if you have the wrong IP or something, that could cause
Well,
an
I
issue
have
too.
a problem with a laptop currently, and so if I do that and it comes back and it won't connect to that,
Right.
it might be a problem with mine.
Yeah, your network card, your network configuration or something. See, years ago when I first started doing this, like back in the 90s or 80s or something like that, I remember when NT Workstation 351 came out, and we wanted to get on the internet, you had to install TCP/IP. It was actually called Super TCP for Windows. It came on this stack of floppy disks. You had to answer like 200 questions. I swear it was everything. Nowadays it's just there. It just works. But back then it was tough. Nowadays it just does it. It does it. Okay. So 169 address is called automatic private IP addressing. If you ever get an address with the 169.254, what that means is your DHCP server's down. That's all it means. Okay. If you ever get an address of 169.254, it means your DHCP server is offline. Now that could mean your router as well. I mean, most of our houses, the DHCP is built into our router. But if you ever check, do IP config and your address is 169.254, there's no DHCP server. The reason they made that was so that when networking started to get popular, people started buying machines that could get on, they wanted to talk to each other. They wanted to be able to take a hub or a switch or something, plug in two computers and be able to communicate with no configuration whatsoever. So what happens is the machines go out looking for an address. They do the four-step DHCP to discover, offer, release, and acknowledgement, and no one answers. So after a length of time, the computer can't get an address, so it automatically assigns itself one. And what happened was each computer on the network would do that, and then you could talk. Because you all got one in the same range. You all were 169.254, but the rest of the address was randomly picked. So you could take two computers with a hub or a switch, just plug them in, and they could talk to each other. Couldn't go on the internet or anything, but at least they could communicate. So that's the whole reasoning behind it. Okay, it's great for troubleshooting. Like when I used to run my consulting business, people call me and said I couldn't get on the internet, I can't do whatever. I'm like, what's your IP address? And whenever they told me 169.254, I'm like, okay, go in the closet, the little blue router, unplug the power, plug it back in, and they're good. So it really helps you knowing, tracking down what the problem is. Okay. 172 is a private IP address. A lot of places use that. Okay. Actually, the example I got from David uses that. And there's the 192 stuff. More 192, more 192. 198 is for device benchmark. Never really did anything with that one. Then we got multicast. Well, let me explain real quick what multicast is. Say, pretend each of your seats here had a computer, and we wanted to image them all. So I would have to send, say this image was, 100 gig, but it's probably a decent sized image. Can you imagine if I was sending 100 gig to Austin, 100 gigs to Virginia, and so on and so forth? That's a lot of network traffic. Y'all agree with that? Basically, I would either have to do it one at a time, or I have to send out, you get, the first meg, then you get one. I mean, that would still take forever. Multicast allows me to send it at one time and everybody gets it. It's kind of like Netflix. Do you really think Netflix is sending out a signal directly to your house? Yeah, you got your own private Netflix server. There's no way they can handle it all. What they do is they use multicast. It kind of buffers it up somewhat, and you're getting a stream that's already playing. the odds are, Netflix does not have movies and TV shows that people don't watch. They'd be stupid. So what they do is those are probably playing most of the time. So when you go in and request, I don't know, some stupid show on there, it's coming from a multicast stream from Netflix is what's happening. Okay? All right. So then you have some reserved addresses. Okay? Let's move on. Okay. Now, we also have something called classless. This whole thing back here, bad idea. Now, my address at when I ran my company was 66.210.163.130 was one of my addresses. Okay? So I ran an ISP at my house. My first octet was 66. So what kind of network did I have? I had a Class A, so obviously I was a very large network. No, I was a home unit. I was a small business. I had 128 IP addresses. So then why did I have a 66? Shouldn't I have had a Class C? Well, what it was is I had my address from Cox. Cox is a very large network. 66 belonged to Cox. Then they gave me a portion of theirs. So really this whole class full addressing didn't last very long. Okay? So what they came out with is this thing called classless. Okay? Now we don't care if you're A, B, C, D, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. We just go by the number of ones. And when we do subnetting, I'll show you how to do that. Okay? Supernetting, maybe we have a couple small subnets, but want to put them together. David answered a question a little bit ago. I asked, why subnet? Well, at your house, then when way back at the beginning of the semester, I think I showed you guys Fing. Didn't I show Fing in here? Okay. I showed you. Did anyone do Fing at their house? Realize you probably got 50 darn things getting IP addresses? I did it at my house. I had all kinds of stuff connecting. I mean, my thermometer, everything. My thermometer, my cameras, my everything on my house, my solar panels, everything has an address. But, so what you want to do is you want a subnet that's big enough to hold all your hosts, but you don't want something crazy huge either. Okay? Because what it does is it makes what's called a broadcast domain. Okay? Broadcast means sends it out to everybody. The smaller you can make that, it's kind of like a classroom. Anyone ever take a class at OU with 400 students in a lecture hall? Can you imagine if there was 400 of you, and I suck at names now. I think I finally remember David's name after how many times?
I bug you enough in the whole lot.
You bug me enough. But the point is, I would never get to know you all. And if you have a huge network, it's a very large group of people. Only one person can talk at the network at a time. Do you realize that? Now, with switching technologies, that's not totally true anymore. But when you get really down to it, only one person can talk at a time. Okay? So if we had a classroom of 400 students, can you imagine if one student could ask a question at a time? Wouldn't it be better if we had a classroom of 25 students? So we're subnetting the classrooms out. Okay, and that's the selling point. So supernetting, maybe we take a couple of these small networks, put them together. In this specific building, we have 10.50 and 10.60. You have two different subnets in this particular building. They're put together to work as one. So we're really supernetted in this building. Because what they did is originally the bottom floor was one number, top floor was another. Now it's all kind of mixed up and but they're put together. That's what supernetting is. Okay, so let's go back to binary. Okay, so when you go take a test, see that top line right there? You need to write that down. The easy way to remember is 2 to the 0, 2 to the 1, go all the way up to 7, or you can go to 8, 9, 10 if you want. And then start with 1, 2, 4, and just keep doubling it. You need to write that down, because when you go to calculate subnets, it's so handy to just be able to put little notes in there and don't have to worry about, okay, what was 2 to the 8th power again? Oh, it's 256. If it was written down, I wouldn't even have to think about it. On the test, you don't want to have to think about this piddly stuff and screw it up. Get 2 to the 3rd, we all know is 8, but if it was written there, wouldn't it be easier? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Write this stuff down, and we're going to write down the subnets here in a minute. You'll see. So if I want to convert 10.60.200.96 to binary, could we do that? Okay, what's 10? Anybody?
2 to the 3rd and 2 to the 1st.
So 2 to the 3rd and 2 to the 1st. So it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. Correct? Sound right? So is it right there?
Yeah.
You all agree with that? because we have 10, so we need 1 of the 2 to the 8th, 2 to the 3rd, I'm sorry, which is 8. And we need 1 of 2 to the 1st power, which is 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. There's our 10. Easy enough to convert that. You see that? No issues at all. Now we need to convert 60. Well, 60, we need a 32. Obviously, we don't need a 64. Do you agree the 64 is too big? Do we need 128s? No, we don't need any of those either. So zeros go there. We need a 32, okay, and a 16. What's that give me? That gives me 48, okay? 48 from 60 gives me 12, doesn't it? Okay. Am I wrong on my math? I did it wrong, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah. Mine's wrong. I actually did this with 2 to the 8th on there, then deleted some digits, so I accidentally deleted that one. So that one's wrong. Sorry about that. So it's really 2 to the 5th, 2 to the 4th, 2 to the 3rd, and 2 to the 2nd. Yeah, I kind of screwed that one up. Okay, let's see, it's 200 right. Okay, 128 and 64 is 192. I know that. I just know that. And then I need an 8. And that's 200. Can't believe I screwed up 60. That's... Okay.
If it makes you feel any better, they messed up one of those in our networking book.
Just go in and edit it real quick and then nobody will ever know.
Yeah, but then I have to go back into the slide. Okay, you know what? We're going to fix it. Yeah, but I have to edit on multiple slides. Okay, so it's 32 and 16. That's 48. 48 and a 1. So that's 56. Correct? You better now? So it's 1, 1, 1, 1 in the middle there. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next slide. 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. Okay. So we got 200. Y'all see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then we're going to fix this last one. Oh, the last one was fixed. What the hell? I fixed it all, but... Okay, so let's go back to play this right here. No, not yet. Give me an hour. Okay. So, and then 96 is 64 and 32. But you see how to convert decimal to binary.
Yes.
Very easy to do, and you will need to know how to do this. Okay? So, now let's talk about subnet masks. 255 is all ones. You agree with that? It just is. So if I take off a 1 at the end, it becomes 254. If I take off the 2 to the 2's, or the 2 to the 1's position, which is a 2, it becomes 252. If I take off the 2 to the 2's position, which is 4, it becomes 248. Then if I take off another one, it becomes 240. That's what Tinker had. Do y'all know what your subnet is at Tinker? Is it 240 still? Anybody know?
I don't even know.
Oh. It was 240 when I was there. Yeah.
I could look tomorrow.
It's too late now. I sent you all an email. One person replied. I'm just saying.
I was imaging computers.
Just saying. Okay, so what is the next one? 224. Very good. Okay. And then 192 and 128. Okay. Now, do you notice anything about those? You notice the numbers are all contiguous. The ones are all together and the zeros are all together. They're not mixed up. Do y'all see that?
Sir.
You cannot have it any other way. If I go, actually, I don't know. Let's try this. We're going to try this. Where is, I don't even know if I have permissions to do this. It's probably going to screw up something. We're going to try this. Okay, we're going to go in here. We're going to go in here. We're going to go to
Famous last word.
my IP.
Subnet mask is 255.255.0.0.
Well, class B. Okay. So we're going to give us an address, 192.168.0.5. Okay? And why did it do that? Does anyone know why it gave me L255? Because that's the default mask for it. But you know, I'm smarter than this thing. I want this one to be 213. Okay? Obviously 213 is good, isn't it? Is 213 on the list? Well, we're going to pretend it is. Okay. And we're not going to put a gateway in. I'm going to say okay. It's like, whoa, you entered an invalid subnet mask. So it's smart enough to know that you screwed up. So while you're taking your certification test, if you want to test it, just go into the configuration of the testing computer and change. No, don't do that. Bad idea. Bad idea. So it says the subnet mask has to be contiguous. Please enter a valid mask.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay. And when you get in trouble, I did not tell you to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
Our test.
you need, those are the only valid subnet masks. Okay? I tell you, on the test, they're going to give you a subnet mask that's not valid. Whatever number they give you, convert it to binary. If it's not all ones and zeros, like contiguous, is wrong. Okay? I'm telling you, they're going to give you one. And they're going to give you an IP address that starts higher than 255. It's going to be like 948, like we saw in the CSI show the other day. I'm like, seriously? Okay. So far, so good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we know what the valid subnets are. Okay. So, oh, who got in here and mistyped this? Aren't you glad I'm fixing this on the fly so it's all perfect now? Okay, so the number of zeros is the number of the hosts minus 2. Okay, the number of ones is the number of subnets minus 2. Okay, so 240, for instance, is 4 ones and 4 zeros. You agree with that? So there's 4 zeros, so 2 to the 4th number of hosts minus 2, I'll explain why in a second, gives us 14. So there's 14 usable hosts. So the subnet mask of 240, how many usable hosts do I have? No, 240, no. Remember, 240 subnet, how many zeros are in 240? 4. There's 4 zeros in 240. 2 to the 4th is 16. 16 minus 2 is 14. So 2 to the 40 has 14 usable hosts. You're going to have questions on this, I guarantee you. Okay. Let me explain this whole minus 2 thing. Okay. You can't use the first and you can't use the last. Let me explain why. I live at 8412 Tree Line Drive. Okay. We learned that many times now.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Yeah. Can I send mail to Tree Line Drive?
Can you send mail?
Well,
You can try.
okay.
From what I heard,
If
in
you,
your area, there's a chance you might.
yeah, there's a chance I will get it. You're right. But should you be able to send mail to Tree Line Drive? You shouldn't be able to. Because that's not an address. That's like the entire street. The first number is what's called the network ID. Okay? So Tree Line Drive is my street ID or my street address. Okay? A network ID identifies the network. You can't send a packet to the network ID. The last address in the grouping is the broadcast address. That's if you want to send it to everybody. That's kind of like rural Route 12. You ever get that buyer's guide crap to every house in the neighborhood? Do you really think they actually address them for every house in the neighborhood? No, it goes for this route. It's kind of like a broadcast. Okay? Same thing. So the number of hosts, minus 2, is the number of zeros, 2 to the 3rd, not just the number of zeros, but like this one, this one is 2 to the 4th because I missed a 0 too. See, I kind of screwed. I had this with 2 to the 8th on there, and I removed them on. I obviously missed a couple slides. So there's actually 2 to the 4. There's 4 zeros. Okay, everybody with me? Okay, let's continue on. So 248. Okay, y'all agree that's 248? It was 240. We just added one more 1. Since I added a 1, that's in the 8th column. 2 to the 3rd column. So now I only have 3 zeros. So 2 to the 3rd is 8. Can't use first, can't use the last. So I only get 6 usable hosts. Okay. How many networks are there, though? How many ones are there? 5. Okay. So what's 2 to the 5th? 32. It's right there on the... That's what I said. If you write that down, you don't have to remember it. 32 minus 2 is 30, so there's 30 usable networks as well. Okay? Now let's do 252. Okay? 252 has how many zeros? 2. 2 to the 2 is 4. That one was tough. Minus 2 is 2. Okay? So far, so good? Everybody see how to do this. So if I was to ask you how many hosts there were, you could tell me. Okay? So 192. How many usable hosts are there with a subnet mask of 192? 52? 62? She says 62. She right.
Oh wait, I was on the other one. I might be thinking wrong.
Okay, 192 on the subnet mask. So what's 192? So it's 1, 1.
Zero.
Then how many zeros? 6 zeros. What's 2 to the 6th?
That's not right.
You're right anyway. 2 to the 6th, in other words, 6 zeros, so 2 to the 6th is 64. Minus 2, 62. 62 usable hosts. See how we did that? And I'll tell you, what they're going to do on certification, they're going to say, I want a network with so many hosts. Just like that. When, figure out how many they are, which I'll show you an example of that too. All right, so what's 222? How many usable hosts? 3? Someone say 3?
30.
I heard 30, I heard 14, I heard 3. It's not a contiguous set of ones or zeros. Convert it to binary and you see 222 has a 0 stuck in the middle of it. Can't do it. Won't work. Again, on the testing computer, reconfigure your IP address. But that's what I'm telling you. If you write down that very top line, it's not hard to. Okay, don't think Just I'm telling you, 222. Okay, that's a 128, and that's a 64. So that's 192. So that means I need 30 more. Oh, I can't do 30. 30 doesn't work.
I'm sitting there,
Okay. Let's trick question. Okay. So everybody see that? Isn't that like a fancy slide? Yeah. Yes, they will. See, the problem is certifications always change, but a lot of times there's a none of the above. So it's you've taken some of my tests where the right answer is there. And if you did it wrong, I know how you're going to do it wrong, so I put the wrong answer there too. So then you're like, crap, my answer's there. Well, your answer was wrong. But they do that on the test too. They know how you're going to screw it up. So they'll do that, and then they'll also put none of the above. They're going to be like, no, don't do that. Okay. It's not a contiguous set of ones or zeros. All right, let's move on. All right, I need a network that holds 21 hosts. In other words, 21 computers. What's subnet mask? Would 224 do it? Let's see. So 224, I think I got my slides out of order, by the way. No, okay. So 224, would that give me 21 hosts? So 224 is 111. Y'all agree with that so far? And it gives me 5 zeros. So 2 to the 5th is 32. It gives me 30. But I only needed 21. So was that the right answer? Well, what's the next step? If I added one more one to lower the number of hosts, because 30 is, I only want 21. Okay? I got 30. With a 224, I got 30. That's more than I asked for. So what if we added another 1? What would my subnet mask become at that point?
60, so 14.
Would it give me 14? So I would have 4 1s and 4 zeros, so my subnet mask would be 240. 2 to the 4th is 16, minus 2 is 14. But I need 21. So what's my option? My option is 30. Because you always want to have enough. Now the way, I've taken a lot of certification tests. I know one of the tests, they basically said, you got a network that has 21 hosts, and you're expecting a 10% growth over the next 5 years. Okay, what subnet mask would you use? Would this handle 10% growth? Yes, it would. Do you all know how to do 10%? 21 basically 2. So okay. So we need 23. So watch that, because if they give you a number where it's kind of iffy, where it's right at the edge, maybe if they told you we need 30 hosts, but you're expected to grow 10% over the next 5 years, then would that one be good? No, it would work good for today, but they try to incorporate the whole, they try to make you do calculate Subnet Masks plus think about growth at the same time. Because you don't want to do what I did to Tinker and manually assign a network twice. Okay, you don't ever want to do it, actually. It sucks. Okay, so let's continue. And the worst part about that, I still remember to this day, was we had flyers out there that'd be TDY, or they'd have laptops, so they're gone. So they come back and they submit these troubleshooting. Man, my computer ain't working. We couldn't figure out why. Well, what it was, we didn't redo their network because they were gone. So, all right, here we go. So I need a network to hold 8 hosts. Is this one good? Is 248 good? Why?
You have to subtract 2.
Oh, I didn't subtract the 2. Right. You have to subtract 2. Don't forget. Okay, let me tell you a quick story about this one right here. I worked at KeyTech Internet. It's no longer there. It was an ISP that time. All right. But I worked at KeyTech Internet, and what it was is the guy and his girlfriend kind of ran it. He did everything. She just spent the money. Did a little bit of the accounting work. Well, he sold it to her when he broke up with her, and basically she was going to run the whole thing. So they contacted me to run it. And because I just got out of the military, I had some free time. So basically, I walked into an ISP with no one who knew nothing. The accountant girl knew nothing. Her new boyfriend was a lawyer. He didn't know crap. So I had to run the entire thing. Well, it was all Linux-based too, which was kind of handy as well. But we sold IP addresses. We were an ISP. We sold IP addresses. So we would sell them. You could buy a single address, or you could buy a group of 8, or you could buy a group of 16. So I says, I can't sell 8 addresses. Like, sure you can. Because they did just what I did here. I says, I can't do that. That's not 8. Yes, it is. I'm like, no, it's really only 6. No, 248 is 8. I'm like, yeah, but you can't use the first one. You can't use the last. She goes, no, it's 8. That's what we sell. That's 8. I says, that is wrong. Totally. But that's what they've been doing it for years. So whenever we sold IP addresses, someone wanted 8, I gave them that. I had one guy call me one day. He goes, I got a problem with the IP address you gave me. He goes, I bought 8. I says, let me guess. You can only use 6. And he's like, yeah, the weirdest thing. The other 2 won't work. So I just gave him a 240 Subnet mask. I gave him basically 14 instead of 8. So it was, you see what I'm saying? You see why you can't do 8? You have to subtract the 2. Because remember, the first is the network ID. The last is the broadcast. And with a 248 address, you're kind of stuck. I mean, that's only 6. So it was crazy. All right, so that one's obviously wrong. And there it is.
Did you ever have one person perform?
Just one person. That was the only one. But yeah, it was. Basically, they hired me for 20 hours a week. It was really pretty good money, whatever it was. But I was doing so much overtime. It was kind of we're paying you for 20 hours a week, but you work around 20 hours a week. Well, it got to the point where I was working more than 40 hours a week. And it was really the accountant and the new boyfriend was really just stealing all the money. It was, they weren't paying the bills. I mean, they were like 6 months behind. They paid $5,000 a month to Cox, and then they were 6 months behind on that and everything else. So I finally came and says, I cannot continue to work double my time for no amount of money. I need you to pay me. And they're like, no, it's not going to work. I said, okay, I quit. So I quit. Said nobody. That's right when Code Red virus hit. I don't know if y'all remember Code Red virus. I mean, we're talking to the day. So they're calling, Ken, we really, really need this fixed. And there's nobody. They didn't have a clue what to do. So I said, I'll tell you what. You pay me back pay all the way to day 1 at 40 hours a week instead of 20. And you pay me $100 an hour to come in and fix your problem. and I need to check up front, and I need to go to the bank and cash it, make sure it's good at your bank, and then I'll fix it. So they paid me. Fixed it in about 2 hours, and they never showed them again. So it was good. So I don't know what happened after that. It was because they were like, oh, the entire thing, because we had Windows servers for some hosting, and Code Red took Windows servers offline. Basically said you're hacked by Chinese. The fix was really hard. Patch IIS. Code Red was nice. It renamed your web pages to backup. So you go in there, rename backup, HTTP, done. That's all it took to fix it. But they didn't know how to do that, so it was kind of funny. Okay, so we understand the whole -2 thing. That's a big issue. Okay, I have a network with 557 hosts with Subnet. Well, crap. Come on, you're going to get a question like this. I told you everything you need to know. This paper might come in handy on this one. 557 hosts. Which subnet should I use? I hope it's 557. Let's see. No, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Crap. Well, okay, I'll tell you how to do it. Crap, because I remember changing the number. Okay. Okay, we stopped at 2 to the 7. Y'all realize we stopped at 2 to the 7 there? So what's 2 to the 8th? And what's 2 to the 9th? 512. What's 2 to the 10th? 1024, 2048, 4096. They keep going up and up and up. Oh, so it was, somehow I wrote that number. It was, what's the number? 557.
Yes.
Okay. No, it was 387 is what I wanted. I wanted 387. Darn it. Yeah, I kind of,
It's okay, it's all on video.
Exactly. No one's ever going to see this. It was 387. I had to make it so, what the problem was that I couldn't make it so it fit on the screen. Because when I went 2 to the 12th, kind of screwed it all up. It wouldn't fit on the slide anymore. So I'm like, oh crap, I had to go fix it. Okay.
Would you change the bottom of it?
What now?
512.
No, that's correct. That's correct. Okay, let's see why. Okay. So I need a network of 387 hosts. All right. So what is what is that right there? Is that enough? Okay, how many zeros we got there? We got, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. So 9 zeros, 2 to the 9th is 512. We know 2 to the 9th is 512. So you can keep going up, just keep doubling it. So 512 minus 2 is 510. So it's 510 good. What if I went with 2 to the 8th instead? Would that have worked? No, because that would have given me 256 minus 2 would have been 254. So you understand why writing this stupid thing on that stupid piece of paper to take your test is very important? See how easy you can see that is? Okay. So what if it was this one? The 62 would only give us 62. So if they asked for 387 hosts, our option is this one. Okay, so what is that? What's the subnet mask in decimal? I didn't put that in the slides. Remember, I showed you all the valid subnet masks. What's the maximum subnet mask? 255. So what is the subnet mask?
It's a different class.
Classless.
Oh, it could be classless. Okay. Really, I should have. It'll be easier if I write it this way for you guys. Huh. You can read it. That might make it easier on you guys. Okay. So remember, 2 to the 7th was 256, isn't it? All these here. All this is 256, 255, isn't it? Because that's 256. So we know the last octet is all zeros, correct? Remember, 2 to the 7th, all the way 2 to the 0 is the last octet. So the last octet is 0. The third octet has how many zeros in it? Just 1. So what is 7 ones in a 0? Be 254. See, if I go back to right here, remember that? All ones in a 0.
Oh, yeah.
See that? 254. Yes. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. So everybody see how I did that? So what's the subnet mask? It's 255, 255, 254 is the third octet, and then 0. Everybody got that? I only had one example of that, so hopefully you kind of understood what we just said.
Is that right?
That's right. 254, yeah. Because
254 zeros.
You only have 1 0.
yeah, because there's only 1 0. So this is actually the last octet. Remember, this 2 to the 7th is our last octet. So this is actually the third. It's only a portion of the third octet, but the beginning is all ones. Okay, so really this here is our only 0 in the third octet. So it's 7 ones and a 0, which is 254. So 255, 255. The third octet's 254, and then a 0. Good? Okay. So what happens is your computer converts it to binary, then it looks at the ones. Well, all the ones are, that's your network ID. The zeros are not. Okay. Now, couple things I didn't cover. Okay. Actually, I can probably do it on here. Let me just copy this slide.
So you did say you put this video up?
Yeah, recording right now. Okay. Okay, I just copied it. Say my IP address was, actually, yeah, we've been here a long time. David sent me an example. Let's look at David's address. Okay, David's address 172.16.1.113. David, you're the only one to send me an address, by the way.
I sent it only 2 hours before we're supposed to be here.
Shh. Yes, I can. 172.16.1.113. Damn it. It's wrong. Oh, one. Okay. So, his subnet mask here is 255.255.255.0. Y'all see that? Now I'm going to ask you a totally different question I have not asked you yet. What is the network ID? What is the broadcast? All right. So if I convert his subnet mask, we're only going to work with to the 7s here. We're going to delete some of this other stuff. This is where I really screwed up earlier. That's why I was missing digits. Okay. So, let me write your subnet mask up here. Okay. So, 255.255.255.0. Y'all see that okay?
Yeah.
So what part of his address is the network part, and what part is the host part? This is simple.
The one is the network and the 0 is the host.
The first part's the
Okay, remember 255 converted to binary is all ones. So that's all ones, that's all ones, that's all ones. So the first 3 octets are all ones. You realize that? So what part of the 172.16.1.113 is the network? First, the first 3.
first 3, the 172.161.
172.16.1.
So it's
Dot 0.
Dot 0. Very good. It's the first number. Okay. What's the broadcast address? 254. Yes.
Oh, 254, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Y'all see that?
How did you get?
Well, because 0 to 254 is 255 addresses. It is. It's the whole starting at 0 thing that throws you off. Okay. So his network ID, you convert the subnet mask to all ones. Then you know what part's the network, what part's the host. And see, actually, let me write his subnet mask this way. Okay. So I'll make it so it fits here. So they all line up now. So we know that the 255s are the network and the zeros are all the one. All right, so let's do another one. Let's do mine here. Mine's different here. She missed out on getting pizza. Okay, what's my address here? It is ipconfig 1060.200.96. So 1060.200.96. Okay, so what's my network ID? What is it? 10.60.0.0. Did y'all see that? How'd she get that? The subnets is just the first two octets of the network. The last two octets are the hosts.
So is the broadcast 10.60.254?
It's 10.6.254.254. Yes. Yes, it is. Very good. Y'all see now we're doing that? Let's do another one. What is my computer? Mine is 10.50. Well, actually, that one's too easy. Let me make a different one here.
Would you look at your text message?
Do I have your address? I don't have a message. No, I don't have an address. Okay, let me pick one. What if my subnet mask was 240? Now what happens? Now what's my network ID? This kind of throws it all out the window, doesn't it?
Because like one of your bits is going to be half ones, half zeros.
Right, because the third octet, let me convert this third octet to binary for you. So half of it, okay, let me tell you how to do this. This is the confusing part. How many hosts are in that subnet, that portion of the subnet that I got highlighted? No, there's 4 zeros. So how many hosts are with 4 zeros? 2 to the 4th is 16, minus 2 is 14. So just go with 16 for now. Okay. So what 16 is, remember, we can't use the first and we can't use the last. That's how we get 14. So 16 is our range, though. So if I wanted to look at the addresses in there, they would be, I'm only working with the third octet, okay? So the range is 0 to 16. I'm sorry, 0 to 15. Then 16 to 31. You see what I'm saying? The number of hosts per subnet gives me my range. There's 16 per subnet. So the first range was 0 to 15. Does 200 fall within there? We have to keep going. So it's 32 to, wait, what are we working with? What's our range? 16. So that's 48 to 47. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay, here's an easy way to figure it out. We know, I'm going to show you. I know the range is 16. So if I did 200 divided by 16, it's 12. Okay? So if I did, 16 times 12, it's 192. So that means 192 to what? 192 plus 16 is what? Plus 16 is 208. The network ID is 192. So the network ID is 10.60.192.0. The broadcast is 10.60.208.254. Y'all see that? Let me do a little bit easier one here. I'm going to change my subnet mask to let's go with 248. Okay. Now tell me what it is. What's 248 in binary? Is what? How many zero? How many ones? I'm going to remove some of the stuff up at the top. We don't need this. 3 zeros? There, I brought that back so it's easier for you. Okay. So it's 3 zeros and 5 ones. Y'all agree? 248? So if you write down this stuff on your paper when you go in there, I'm telling you. Because the cool thing about certification tests is they only time you for when you click start on the test. So don't click start on the test until you get that whole darn sheet written out, all this stuff you could think of, and then you got it all done. Okay, so that's 248. Correct? That is 248? Or is it 2? That's 248, yeah. Okay. Let's verify to make sure. I don't think you can use a calculator and test. 248. The binary is 3 ones. You're right. Okay, so there's 248. So what is the range now? How many zeros are there? 3. So 2 to the third is 8, so my range is 8. So the valid numbers are 0 to 7. Don't do 0 to 8. It's not. 8 starts the next range. Okay? 8 to 15, so on and so forth. What's our range? Oh, no. No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, 96 divided by... Oh, no, I gotta go back scientific. 96 divided by 8. That's our range, isn't it? It's 12. 12 times 8, 96. So, well, that's a bad example. That is the network ID. So what's the network ID of that IP address? Shit. Bad example. Okay. It's very important. You need to know the IP address and the network ID in the broadcast. You see how we're getting that? We're taking the subnet mask, converting it to binary, looking at the number of zeros, coming up on a little chart. 2 to the third is 8. Our range is 8. 0 to 7, 8 to 15, so on and so forth. And where does this fall into that range? Okay? Kind of sound familiar? Right. Yeah, it was. It's been a while. So, all right. I think that's all I'm going to cover on subnetting tonight. I know some of your brains are hurting. I'm going to cover IPv6 next time, unless something else comes up, because we've been here a while. Okay? Sound good?
I was kind of curious on that network ID, how she got
Okay. Go ahead.
254, but I want to read on that stuff.
Okay. On what in 254?
Well, when you were doing the 10.60.0,
Right. Okay. Oh, when we asked the first, okay, say my subnet mask, let's go back to that one again. Say this was 240 or something. Okay. The first number is always a 0. Okay. And what's the highest number? No, the highest. In decimal. It has to be 254. Because anything above 254 is not a valid address. So when I asked for broadcast, she basically said 254, which is the highest number. Remember, broadcast is always the last one. Now, that actually brings up a question. Let me look at David's address here. David gave me this address, in case you can't see it. His default gateway is 172.16.1.18. Is that... Now, does the default gateway have to be a certain address? No, it does not have to. Most of the time, it's either the first or the last address. If you look at my address here, you see my gateway is the first address. Well, not really. Really 0.1 would have been the first, but David's happens to be in the middle of the range. That's fine. It's not an issue.
is it just a random?
What it is whenever they configure the router, which is the gateway, whatever address they assign to the router is your gateway. Okay. It's actually more secure to have it like David has it. Because now it's not predictable. Exactly. Now maybe why they did it. He works at a bank. I'm glad they did that. Now we all know. No.
Now we all know.
No. He's like, oh, does Josh still work there? Yeah.
I got a kick out of hearing you talk about it in one of the videos.
Oh, I talk about Josh all the time, yeah. Josh was one of those who'd play games all day long. And I made a website that said, Josh, go back to work. All right, so that's all for subnetting tonight.